Good idea. Hey, Adam, we're live. Happy Friday.
Hey, Paul. It's good to be here. Happy Friday to you, too. Thanks, everybody, for joining us.
Look, we got thousands upon thousands waiting in line. Sorry, people, we're just a few minutes late. Fridays happen, but we made it anyway.
That's right.
So Adam, if it's Friday, what does that mean?
Well, it's time to learn a little. Every Friday, we've been trying to do this more, or do this every Friday, and continuing to do it now with more participants. So today,
because we're boring. We're boring,
agreed.
And other people are not as boring. So
4 out of 5 dentists agree.
So what are we going to talk about today?
We have on Doug Shelton, who is a buddy here in Northeast Ohio. Went from the corporate world to the real estate world. So we'll talk a little bit about that transition and some things that have helped him in his success, some surprises, pitfalls, and we like Doug, a good pal of ours, and excited to share some of his wisdom.
Yeah, Doug, nicest guy in real estate. So we got that going. Even if we don't talk anything about relevant or anyone cares about, this will be fun anyway. So a couple things we're gonna focus on: where you find deals. Where does a guy like Doug find deals to do flips? If this is something that interests you, where you find money to do this. Not often do people use their own money for all the deals that they go through. And then lastly, how in the world do you find a crew that'll show up and actually help you with the project? So Doug will share that with us. Adam, what do you think? We bring him on now?
I think everybody, don't keep them waiting.
Everyone's so excited. Let's do it. Here we go. Boom. We did it.
Oh, hey guys. How's it going?
What's going on, Doug?
How are you guys?
Having a ball.
Good. Good.
We rambled on there for a minute. You probably heard. Why don't you do a better job than we did on telling us a little bit about yourself and what you do day to day?
Yeah. So, my name is Doug Shelton. I'm here in the Northeast Ohio area, but I do full-time real estate investing. But it wasn't always that way. I talked to these guys, and I was in the corporate world for probably about 14 years. But now we do a lot of fix and flips. We do we do some apartment buildings. We've got some mixed use going on. Actually, I just bought some land. So
hey, nice.
I know a lot of people would say, hey, you might want to focus a little bit more, but I'm very, very attracted to good buys and good deals surrounding real estate. So
you're talking to a couple of caffeinated idea guys. So we're chasing shiny objects.
It's about range. So. That's right.
So what were you doing in the corporate world before you got to flipping houses?
Yeah, mainly banking, consumer lending, mortgages, whatever you want to call it. I lived in Charlotte, North Carolina for about 10 years. That's where my kids were born, things like that. Obviously, if you're familiar with Charlotte, there's a couple big banks there, worked for both of them. Other companies as well. So a lot of experience kind of on that consumer finance side, not so much the commercial side, but
sure.
So that was an interesting chapter of my life, I would say.
Probably not one that you're too disappointed to have left, huh?
No. I would. It's tough to see, old comrades, old years still, kind of chugging it out. But honestly, it's a roller coaster ride. You know what I mean? When it's good, it's really good. But when it's bad, it's really, really pretty tough. So
yeah,
it's good.
So what was it that opened your eyes to maybe getting into real estate? What was that first deal or two or whatever that kind of got you hooked and made you think that maybe a career change was in play?
Yeah, good question. Actually, it was more of probably like an epiphany moment that I had. So while I was working for the bank, I was working with some of these investors, right? Actually, it's kind of funny now because I find myself in these little cliques, but I talked to one guy who called into the bank, and then we became, kind of close. And he's like, oh my gosh, I have my buddies call you, you got to do loans for them too, and the guidelines change constantly, but I believe, there was a time you could do up to like 4 mortgages on even investment properties. I think we're still at like 10 now. You could have like 1 primary, 9 investment. Don't quote me on that, because
Yeah, that's right. Let me write this down. Let me write this down.
From the legal world here. So, but,
How do we sue this guy?
And if you guys are wondering, this is legal advice. This
Right.
is.
That's right. Doug Shelton, legal advice guy.
That's right. So so I started talking to these guys, and great group of guys, and I'm reviewing tax returns. I'm talking to them, one of them on a daily basis, really, really good group. And, I'm kind of looking at this, and I mean, nothing against them. Like I say this in the nicest way possible, but it's not like you have a conversation with one of these five guys and you're like, oh, these guys are genius.
Wizards. Yeah. Right.
Like, so then I'm thinking, oh, maybe there's an opportunity here. But I saw what they were doing. I saw what kind of money they were making. I saw kind of the process they were doing just from the financing side. I was asking a lot of questions. They were, divulging all their information just because, they wanted to get the financing and all that too. So that was almost kind of my, light bulb on moment. And, from there, I think I bought my first house to live in 06, and then, really didn't start getting into investing till about 08, which was a fantastic time.
Yeah.
And, but
that's a win-win year right there.
Right. But I didn't do it full time or anything. I just kind of put my toe in the water. So, but
it's really good. So the thing about real estate investing in general and house flipping, for sure, is the chicken or the egg, right? It's like, well, where do I really get started? Is it if I find a deal, or if I find money, or if I find, a crew to help me out? How did, let's just start with the deal side. How does somebody like you that does, a lot more frequent deals than most people ever will, but how do you find stuff, assets to take down and do something with?
Yeah. So I'd say a couple different ways. First thing, if this is truly what you want, like if the people watching, are like, I'm going to do this, I definitely want to do it. Like, you got to let people know. You got to tell people.
Sure.
Like, you got to tell your aunts, your uncles, you got to tell all your friends, you got to tell everybody that this is what you're doing. That way you kind of stay top of mind with them. Like, hey, so-and-so has to sell this house, that's right. Paul or Adam or whatever was telling me that, they're getting into real estate, or they're in real estate, and they're doing these deals. I would say that's an easy one. That doesn't take any time really, or any,
right.
resources, money, anything like that. I'd say the other real important one, and I enjoy this one probably the most, is probably networking,
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Talking to people who are already doing it, pay attention to people that have what you want. I think if you, before I got into this, I had heard that people were flipping, 20, 30, hundreds of houses a year. And I couldn't even begin to wrap my brain around it. I didn't think it was possible. I think you needed, 100 people working for you. But
right.
But networking is a big thing. I mean, I find a lot of my deals that way. The really dirty, nasty, stinky ones that nobody wants to touch. You're like, hey, let's call Doug. Like,
Doug likes a turd.
Yeah. So that would be a good way to start anyway, because it's not like, if you're just starting, you don't need 10 houses lined up. You need one, maybe two to really get going. And I could tell you a bunch of stories in the last 6-7 years I've been doing this full time, where it's like, it's like a friend's cousin's aunt's former tennis roommate has a coach, right. Or has a house that, and it just comes out of, nowhere. So I think if you put in the work on networking, telling people what you're doing, it's a huge help.
That's really good stuff. Yep.
Yeah, for sure. We hear that all the time and see it. And networking for anybody, but especially with real estate, is people get wrapped up in one deal, but aren't thinking down the road about, future deal flow and things like that. And, it's nice when you get a little roll or whatever, but you got to think about having a big enough network and a big enough net to continue if you want to make it a full-time gig going forward. So that's really good.
So I think the other big risk on people just diving in, especially on their first one, for any type of investment, whether it's real estate or, security, regular old stock market buy, is you got to buy right. Yeah. So how do you over time. So, this isn't like you just started yesterday, but kind of what are some of the most important things for you in underwriting whether or not you want to go after that project and whether or not it's worth your time to do it?
Yeah, that's a good question. And there's probably, depending on the deal and asset class, things like that. But yeah, I think buying it right is more important than location. You always hear people talk about location. Real estate is all about location. Now, location's very important, super important. But I mean, if you buy something 60 cents on the dollar, you know what I mean? Like, even if we go through an '08 again, I don't know if Cleveland, I was down south in Charlotte at that time, and that took a decent hit, but I don't think Cleveland ever got hit more than maybe 15%, 20%. If you're buying it right, I feel like you're still kind of protected, even if we do see a dip. But I think too, if you buy stuff that, I have a little bit different model. I don't go for, let's say, the $10,000 to $20,000 houses and put $5,000 into them, sell them for 50. I try to buy stuff that I wouldn't mind living in, or areas I wouldn't mind living in. That's really personal preference. I mean, I've seen a ton of people make a lot of money at buying houses for a lot lower and just scaling it up and doing much more volume. So. But I would start with that. I would start to think about, hey, would I live here?
That's a good rule of thumb. Is this somewhere I want to take my kids?
Right.
So that's good.
Well, it also tiles into you just being more interested and excited about it. I think the project too. If you feel like it's something, your end product is something that you're going to be proud of and everything like that, rather than just making a buck off a deal. So I think that's a huge part. People have the long view.
Well, I had this one little bit too. So, like, depending on where you buy, you can buy yourself a bunch of headaches as well. If you buy an area that's notoriously getting broken into and things like that, you've got a lot of money and material on site. You've got, so it's something to keep in mind as well. If the numbers look so good, some of those headache issues can be a real pain. So.
Yep. And for newbies, I think you lose a ton of money on the buy. And then the other side is where the humans come in. It's getting that crew that can really help you out. Now, if you're going to do more of a part-timey, shop where you're going to do it yourself, the crew isn't as important. But if you're a full-time, banker and you're thinking of doing this on the side, you need competent contractors to knock out the projects for you. So any tips you can tell folks that you use when you're deciding whether or not to hire somebody, or some things that you're looking at when you're deciding?
Yeah. That's a little tough because, again, a lot of how I kind of evolved in all this is, I was on site with people, and if it worked out and they were hardworking and showed up, and, the contracting world is kind of crazy. And I always joke and say I've kissed a lot of frogs before I found like the good guys I have working for me now, just because, unfortunately, it's just one of those industries that sometimes, people go in and out of, and, you just got to get people excited about it. There's a lot of good companies out there that you can hire, especially if you're just getting started. I would say to maybe, if you feel better going with a company that the workers are already vetted and they've already been kind of screened in that way, that might not be bad, and just kind of build that profit that you're going to pay that company back into the deal. But if you're at a point where you're like, the only place I can really save money is if I'm buying it lower, or materials are materials. I mean, you could buy in bulk and save some money, but you can really save with some in-house folks. You're not going to pay this astronomical per hour, per person. So I think if just like anything else, just have a good conversation, find out what they want, long term. That was one of the greatest things. My head guy, he wanted a brand new truck. I mean, and these trucks now are like 60, 70 grand. So I'm not
a small one, Yeah.
Yeah. But But that's what he wanted. Like, that was his big want. He wants this brand new truck. And I will tell you what, like, I said, well, let's get you a truck. Like, let's figure this out. Let's do enough houses. And, I put some bonus structures in place, and, I had him, earn some extra money maybe on the weekend or working a little later at night. And I'll tell you what, he just got the truck. Well, he got way more, a beautiful truck. And
long weekend.
He's walking taller, loves showing up to work, doesn't mind if I call him on a Sunday. So,
that's great, man.
Yeah, find out what people want. So,
well, that's really important. That's why you're doing well. I mean,
Yep.
you gave a hoot and you wanted to help the guy, and now he's like, he's your guy. So
he's my guy. But
and a really good guy.
Make sure they have the skills too. I mean, they got to deal.
Don't give a truck away, right?
Yeah. So.
So we got a question from Sean Stipa. Here we go. Where do you suggest finding properties when starting out? I'm only a few houses in, but don't have any referrals coming in yet. This kind of goes back to your networking question. Obviously, in COVID, do you have any tricks or suggestions for somebody where it's harder to meet people in person than before? I mean, social media. Here we are rambling online. You got to tell people what you want.
Yeah. And honestly, I think that is good. But a lot of people will knock houses that are online. Especially if we're talking about houses. There's a lot of houses out there. The real estate market, I know here in Ohio, I can't believe how crazy it is. And I have friends in other areas, and they say the same thing as well. Like, the inventory is so low, and I would kind of go back to the basics. And especially if you're just looking for a house or two. You may want to do something real simple. Maybe, just, I know I can't really do meetups, and people don't really like you knocking on their door these days, but
you're a stranger.
If there's a house, that needs some work and you can add some value to it, maybe you could just drop off like a nice little handwritten letter or something. I mean, I never got into that piece as far as marketing goes, but
door knocking. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I would say, the more of an expert you are too in the area that you want to invest in, you'll know good deals that much quicker. Like, you won't have to go back and revisit and continue to, research it. Like, oh, is this a deal? Is this a deal? Well, if you know a city or a suburb, really, really well, like, as soon as you see square footage, beds, baths, maybe what street it's on, you might be able to jump out there a little bit quicker and make a better deal. Maybe go back to reaching out to the realtors as well. The listing agents, they've got, they're putting a house up, multiple offers, over ask, like good, but there's a lot of buyers still out there. So maybe just get yourself involved in that realtor circle as well. Cause you can go to an investment group, investment thing, but everybody's looking for, deals. And, in fact, tonight I'll be at somewhere in Lakewood, and I'm sure, we'll talk it up with a few people. And I usually always come out of this thing with at least one deal. So I'm kind of hoping that
we're not only are the drinks good, the deals are good too.
Right. The drinks are good as well.
That's good.
No, that's good. I think you're right. You got to kind of be a little more creative. Maybe just, I think the big thing is taking more action than getting bogged down on where the next deal is, and looking at action for the long term, like getting to know your market better, so you're ready and you're not wasting as much time on things that aren't really a deal, because there's obviously a lot that come in and you come across. But if you're wasting time on all those, you don't get to the good deals, and you get distracted by things that aren't. So,
hey, look, Sean will be joining you. Probably our friend Steve-O's little shindig.
Oh, nice.
So he'll buy Sean. Put your drink on Steve's tab, and then you can give it to Doug. Buy Doug a drink. Sean also wants to know: are you buying at auctions at all?
Yeah, I actually used to buy a lot at the auctions. Not so much recently. There's a few online auction platforms that you can look at. But I actually, I'm here a little bit south of Cleveland in Medina County, and I would, they have one auction a month, and a lot of times I would go.
Yeah, it's really tough down there.
Yeah, you have to go in person. I kind of like that factor because then you actually have to get up. And during the winter months when it was really bad out, got some of the best deals because nobody else wanted to drive.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, not so much anymore. I really haven't seen anything come back on the auction front. So
yeah, and I think another good spot, just from the Boeing lawyer side on networking is a lot of these banks have REO divisions. So go to LinkedIn, see if you can nail down that special asset manager or whatever the title might be, and if you can swing buying direct from the bank, those are good too. So. Let's see. We got another question. Oh, we got another one. Greg Danisic, he's got a question for you. Given the current situation we're in, do you think now is a good time to get involved in flipping? And what do you think of the long-term outlook is? Good question, Greg.
That is a good question. Well, it's tough. Nobody has a crystal ball. Nobody knows when, this, will start to slow down or things like that. But again, I think goes back to buying it right. If you're going to buy things right, again, it's tough to find things for 60 cents on the dollar these days. It wasn't, 10 years ago, but if you can even find something for 70 cents on the dollar, I think you're kind of have a little bit layer of security that in case we do see some big change. I mean, we got obviously a big election coming up, and there's a lot of variables out there that no one knows how that's going to change, real estate. But yeah, no, I mean, I'm not slowing anything down. I mean, I don't know. Let's see, current situation. Do you think good time to get involved in flipping? So, yeah, I think too, like getting involved, it might mean, finding that one good deal, getting it flipped, getting it sold. And, I don't, again, if you buy it right, I don't see a problem with, I think you can make money in any market. I really do. I think you can make money if we think that this is the tippy top of the bubble, I think we can make money, obviously in a recession. So yeah, I mean, maybe just don't go as guns blazing as maybe you thought, but yeah, I'm a big believer you can still make money in this world. So.
Yep. And I'll add one other thing. It's just like, having a plan B. So, just kind of educate yourself on having a backup plan. If it doesn't go, if lending tightens up or whatever happens, can you do something different? If it was, you planned on a flip, but you need to, rent it out for a while or do something different on it. Kind of educate yourself so you can have other options and flexibility if things change.
Yeah, that's real good.
Thing too.
Oh yeah, and I think this is where it's mentioning.
Very important.
Chris Kelly says we're looking good. So great chime in there, Chris. He is one of Florida's best flippers, so we'll have him on too. He's got a cooler accent than we do too, so we'll definitely.
Yeah, I want to connect with him more too. Yeah, he's putting out some good stuff.
Yeah, he really is. He's a big social media guy. He'll fill up your news feed for sure. Yeah. Let's see. We got any other questions? Sean asked, do you buy and hold at all, or do you just like fixing and flipping?
Yeah. So we've gotten much more into the buy and hold just because flipping is very transactional. Like you will put your blood, sweat, and tears into these things, and then you sell it and you get paid a nice amount of money. But then it's starting over at the beginning again. So if we pick up a house or a couple houses into some decent areas, a lot of times I'll hang on to that. Just about a year ago, I've kind of started making the turn into multifamily. So got a couple apartment buildings that I'm partnered up in. We're actually closing on one here in about 3 to 4 weeks as well. So if I can continue to kind of get those for more buy and holds, I'll probably end up getting out of the buy and hold single family. I think we have maybe 8 or 9 right now. So not very many, but again, it's not bad for, some monthly income. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the last thing I wanted to ask you about is, well, for anybody that's lucked out and thinks they have a crew that can help and they've actually found a deal worth doing, what kind of options are out there funding wise? Not everybody has, 150 for a full blown out rehab. So what kind of sources are there? Private money, hard money? Can you tell people a little bit about that?
Yeah, both. I would say, if you can get into private money, just get around people that have money that want a good return, and they have faith in you to, protect their money and to, be a good steward of their money.
Right.
So I think that is always helpful. You can never almost have too much capital because it just, as you scale up, you just need more and more and more. But hard money is a great option. I know we had a little bit of a blip during this COVID thing where a few got offline and but I already see them coming back, and it's unless you have just a ton of capital sitting on the sidelines or like a super rich uncle, aunt, whatever, like hard money is a great way to get you scaled up. We flipped 22 houses last year, so nothing groundbreaking, but it was
great, man. That's a lot.
It's all relative, right? I mean, to somebody,
sure.
It's a ton, but to somebody doing, 200, it's like, oh, that's cute. But
well, they're jerks. Whoever that is, they're jerks.
So I think the hard money, though, we would have never been able to scale to do that if
Sure.
we didn't get them involved. So I definitely think, talking it up with them, finding out criteria, just getting yourself more comfortable with having those conversations, with the verbiage of, whether it be, interest rate, points, fees, all the little, sometimes junk fees are trying to be, slipped in there. So I think it's a good idea to get yourself as familiar and educate yourself as much as possible with the hard money, because that will scale you up for sure.
And I would just say hard money is more expensive. Look up hard money loans and you'll figure it out. But hard money is really great too if you know what you're doing, because if you can turn those things in 90 days or 120 days, that money's not that expensive if you know what you're doing. It can be very expensive if you don't. So
yeah, that's true. Very true.
Adam, you got anything else for
our last bit is I'll give you two options if you like one or the other. We like to ask people about just something maybe helped you lately that you want to share with people that, maybe good books you're reading, some things that were really helpful with you in transitioning into real estate or into scaling up into a bigger company. Or if you want to just talk about something that's important to you outside of real estate. This is a non-real estate question. So share whatever you think is most helpful, or both.
Cool. I'm just going to touch a little on both, I think, because I know a lot of people on here are probably connected to Mark Evans' DM. I just picked up that Magician vs. Mule.
Deal maker.
So so that's really good stuff. I mean, you talk about somebody who just says it how it is. It's nice and refreshing. Another good book is it's called Never Split the Middle. Oh, I forgot.
Never Split the Difference. I got it. Yep.
Never Split the Difference. Yeah, that was really good. Like, I really enjoyed that one. But you know what has really helped lately, non-real estate, and it really feels like everything's been flowing a little bit better, is I really have taken a step back, and like my kids just made the golf team. And I'm a big golfer, and I was so elated. So like, I've really tried to just like be more present and just, we're swinging a club in the backyard. We'll shoot up to the driving range, just like impromptu, like those just little things have really I think it's just helped my mindset. I think it's kind of helped me, not stress about, oh geez, did this so-and-so order this, or did this get done? I mean, obviously those things still have to be done, but I almost feel like you're more productive if you're leading without without a clouded mind. So yeah, just being present with these guys has been awesome. And it's not like I wasn't present before. I don't want people to think
this guy's a dirtbag.
Right. I just moved back into the house. No.
Finally let it in. Yeah, it's important. I mean, happiness wins, Gratitude and happiness is where it's at. So if you're happy, you can work 3 hours a day and be way more productive at 10. So that's good stuff. Yeah. So that's been really cool. So, but that's a great question. I love that, by the way, that you guys asked that, because, we can get so like, real estate, wrong. I know. Yeah. Who we can.
Those other things that really help. So,
yeah.
That's great, man. Well, thanks so much for coming on. I don't see any other questions. So,
well, thank you so much. Now, are you guys, will I see you in the near future tonight? No?
I was thinking of coming tonight, but I'm old and it's already 4:30 and I got too many kids. I think they're going to want me to they made popsicles. They want to go to a playground and do something, eat popsicles.
Be
at the
present.
playground. So
Yeah.
being present. So I'll drink with Steve in spirit at like 10 o'clock. So
Very cool. Yeah.
Awesome.
Say hi to the crew for me. I know there'll be many there. So
I will. And thank you guys so much for having me on. I really enjoyed it.
Sure.
This was great. And thank you guys for every Friday, the value that you guys put out there. I really enjoy it. You guys keep it light. You provide value. Like, that's right up my alley.
Well, good, man. We're flattered you were willing to, shave 30 minutes off on a Friday. So thanks a lot for coming on.
Sure.
You got it.
I hope all of you learned a little.
Okay. Thank you so much. Have a good one. Have a great weekend.
You too.